All right, welcome to the Fantasy Football Last Call podcast. My name is Joe Bond, founder of FantasySixPack.net. With me back in action this week is Geoff Lambert,
What's up, man?
goingfor2.com. What's going on, man?
Not too bad, not too bad. Yeah, last week I got stuck building my daughter's bed, which
It
kind of
happens,
funny.
man.
I actually finished it today. That's how impossible
Oh,
that thing was to put together.
wow.
Yeah,
That's jeez, that's a long time.
yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously,
uh,
I during the week I'm busy as hell with retail, so this is like the busy week for retail. But yeah,
oh, of
I
course,
finished
yeah.
building it earlier today.
Oh man, yeah. I don't. I'm glad I'm past those days of building beds for now. I'm guessing I'll have, once they get older, they'll want more and more stuff. But for now, I'm good. But all right, man. So we are at halftime of the Ravens and Browns game, and it's not really much of a fantasy game here. A bunch of field goals, lots of
Unless you got the defense,
turnovers. Yeah, I mean the defenses are doing well. Bunch of turnovers, bunch of interceptions on both sides, and yeah, it's just kind of an ugly game. Kind of a lot of ugly football today, and we'll get to some of that. So let's start with one of those ugly games against
yeah.
one of those ugly teams.
First ugly game to start off here with the Bengals beating the Steelers down 41-10. Big Ben, brutal, 24 for 41, 263, a touchdown, two picks. Also had two fumbles and lost one. Damian Harris. Najee Harris, 8 for 23, 3 for 14 through the air. Not so good there. Deontay Johnson, pretty good PPR game, 9 for 95. Freiermuth gets his touchdown, so he obviously was a good tight end for you, 4 for 40. Other side, Burrow was not great fantasy-wise, but super efficient, 20 for 24 for 190, one touchdown, a pick. I believe he also ran for a touchdown, too, so he probably did pretty well for you in fantasy. Mixon had a monster game, 28 for 165, two touchdowns. He had, four catches for -2 yards, something like that. But
Yeah, something crazy.
yeah,
I was like, did I read that right? And then I was
yeah.
like, how do I type this in the notes?
And the
Uh,
crazy thing is, I think that the -2 yards may have been one of the biggest plays because it was an interception. I don't know if you saw the play or not. The
oh,
Steeler
that's
play
right. He
actually
like, yeah,
finished
he like jumped over and stole it from
and
him. That's
stole it back.
right. That's
Yeah,
right. I do
so
remember that.
it was the
And you are
best
right.
negative two
Burrow
yards
did
of his
rush in for a
career.
touchdown. I missed that in the stat sheet. I'm
Yep.
not
And
used to
then
seeing
Higgins
Burrow
monster
rush.
game, 6 for 114 and a
Mm-hmm.
touch as well. So really, the question here is Mixon. I know, me and you were in that crab cakes league, and he went. I believe I took him in the fourth round. No one wanted to touch Joe Mixon, and all of a sudden he's blowing up right now. Is he a top three back rest of the season? You think?
I mean, I I don't see how not. I mean, you look at obviously, we're looking at Jonathan Taylor, possibly Eckler mixed in there, and we're gonna get to this later, but obviously Dalvin Cook got banged up today. Derrick Henry's out. Najee Harris is kind of going in the wrong direction. That entire Steelers offense is, unfortunately. I mean, Nick Chubb just isn't really getting it done, not to that
Not
level.
scoring enough. Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey's out again. Not that he was even performing at top 3 level, in my opinion. I mean, he was going to be maybe, easily top 10.
Yeah.
But I think with Cam there, things are limited with him. But, he got banged up again. Zeke
Kamara's been
dealing with
out.
a 9 injury. Kamara's been out, but that offense isn't top notch. Mixon's been killing it. The last, all season long, right? I mean, we're looking at running backs for all season long. He's number 3,
Yeah.
behind Taylor and Eckler, and he's catching Eckler at this point. So it's I don't see any reason why we couldn't see him be a top 3, maybe even
Yeah.
number 2 behind Taylor the rest of the way.
I would like to see them use him in the passing game a little bit more. I mean, Mixon has been a pass catcher in the past, and they have been using him as much as they were, in recent years. But I think overall, he's still getting that crazy workload. I mean, 28 carries today for a guy that was quote unquote injury prone coming into the season.
Yeah.
They're not worried about him getting injured for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of on pace for targets with what he had in like 2019, maybe slightly behind his target share in 2018 when he had 55. So he is getting used. It just doesn't seem like it. It's because his usage in the in the run game is so much higher than it has been. I think everybody's just focused on that, and I have too. I had to kind of double check it because I was like, oh yeah, you're right, he hasn't getting used, but I mean he's killing it right now on the ground, especially as of late. So
Definitely.
yeah, I'm all for it. I will say this one thing before we move on to the next game. I'm off Jamar Chase, man. Like, if you can trade him, if your trade deadline's open, like maybe just the name moves still at this point, but
Yeah.
he's been struggling.
Yeah, you think he hit the rookie wall? Or did teams just now start to scheme for him?
I think teams are scheming for him. I mean, I think eventually he'll figure it out. It might be till next year at this point.
Yeah.
He's going to have a few games here and there, of course, but I think overall, if you want something more consistent, you're going to need to move Jamar Chase.
Agreed. We do have a comment there in the chat. I don't know if you saw that or not.
Oh, I did. Sorry. So from Shane Clark, will Chubbs get over 10 points today? PPR. Oof. I haven't seen that right now. So at half, he's at 1.8. Ooh. I don't know.
Yeah.
They're obviously splitting carries right now. Him and Hunt, 4 and 5. He's actually behind. He's got more targets than Hunt, which is bizarre.
I don't see it happening tonight.
I mean, if the defenses keep playing the way they are, then no, unfortunately. I mean, you just have to hope they get down there and like he falls in the end zone and maybe rushes for another like 30 yards beyond that. It's somewhere.
Yep.
I think it's kind of the hope at this point, but this is a total defensive game here.
Yep.
We do have another one too here from Shane as well. Is Pittman fading or just the past couple games a fluke? I don't think he's fading. He was targeted heavily today.
Yeah, no, I think he was too.
And I'm trying to look at his stat line today. I'm trying to pull him up here. Pittman, he saw 10 targets, only caught 4 though. But I mean, his target share is so high. I mean, he is the weapon in that passing attack. Obviously, Doolin or whatever his name is caught the touchdown. So did Hilton. But Pittman's a guy who I think I still trust to do very well the rest of the way.
Agreed. I mean, he's still the top target in that offense, and
he's by far.
Yep, yeah. He's the red zone threat as well. So yeah, I agree. I think Pittman will be fine. I mean, he's got Houston next week, so you're definitely firing him.
Yeah, that's a get right game for sure.
Yep.
Although you would have said the same thing about Jacksonville. I mean, it went 5 for 71, which. I mean, yeah. Last week was the Bills. That's tough for anybody, and then this week he just didn't score. I mean, he saw plenty of targets. But,
well, I think that Bills game wasn't that the Jonathan Taylor game. They didn't need to throw the ball in that game. That was they
threw the ball very, very little in that game for sure. So, all right, let's move on to the next game here.
All right. Speaking of the Colts lose today to the Bucs, 38-31. Brady 25 for 34, 226, a touchdown and a pick. The story here is Leonard Fournette with 17 for 103 touchdowns on the ground, 7 for 31, and a touchdown through the air. Gronk has a huge game here, 7 for 123. On the other side, Wentz, 27 for 44, 306, 3 touchdowns. Did have 2 picks. Jonathan Taylor, 16 for 83 and a touchdown, but really didn't get it until the very end of the game there. And Jack Doyle makes an appearance here at 6 for 81 with a touchdown. Really, like I said, the story here is Fournette with his 4 touchdowns. I mean, who saw that one coming?
Nobody. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, you can't predict those types of games, but he had a monster game. I mean, a lot of them were like really, it was all goal line work for the most part. So, good for him. I'd say the other kind of notable stat line here, and you meant Gronk, right? I mean, 7 for 123. I mean, he paced that passing attack. The receivers were shut down.
Yep, they definitely were. Godwin and Evans.
Shocking.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think we'll obviously get better days from Godwin and Evans down the line. But next week, though, to note, they're expecting Antonio Brown back. So
yeah, that throws another little kink in there.
I mean, Brady's been better with both Gronk and AB in there. So
yeah,
I'm kind of looking forward to getting Brady back to being Brady from early in the season for my Scott Fish team, right in time for playoffs. So let's do it. But yeah, man.
On the other side of things there, on the other side of things with JT, with his usage, I mean, they went pass happy early. I mean, they were passing the ball like every down it seemed. They forgot that he had Jonathan Taylor in the backfield, I guess, into that last drive.
I mean, yeah, crazy. I started like this game was on red zone nonstop because I mean they were just up and down the field the whole game. And every time I was watching it, it's like Carson Wentz dropped back and passed. Carson Wentz dropped back and passed. And I was like, what the hell? What are they? I feel like Jonathan Taylor hasn't touched the ball. And I went and looked at the stat line, and like middle of the, right near the end of the third quarter, and I was like, Jonathan Taylor has 8 carries.
Yeah, ridiculous.
What? And they were leading the majority of this game.
Yep.
And even when they weren't leading, they weren't behind by much. Like, you use your best player, right? Haven't you learned this lesson, Frank Reich? Like, my God, what are you doing? And then, I look at, when I'm writing this down, I'm like, he finished with 16. I mean, I knew he touched the ball a lot that one drive in the fourth quarter where he ultimately scored.
Yep.
Jonathan Taylor did. But I was like, that means he touched the ball. He got 8 carries on the final drive, or the next to final drive for them. The final drive was, like nothing for them. But anyway, yeah, it's mind-boggling what Frank Reich does. Like, I know he likes Carson Wentz and thinks that Carson Wentz can like go win him games like this, but no. Yep. Your MO is run the ball down the throat with Jonathan Taylor, and it works.
Yeah, he scored pretty easy in that one drive. They used him.
Now, remember what you did against Buffalo, right?
Yeah. I mean, the Bucs schemed against him. They were putting 5 men down, to stop him. But I mean, it's still Taylor. You still give him the ball, and you at least got to make them be honest. I mean, the fact that that play action fake doesn't mean much if you're not giving the ball to Taylor at all. So I think it was a mistake.
Big mistake. But I mean, we'll get better days from Jonathan Taylor ahead. Obviously, I mean, he didn't have a terrible game. Obviously, it just wasn't anywhere close to last week.
Oh, definitely not. All right, next game. Go ahead.
Let's skip ahead to this Titans-Pats game because we do have a question from Bob Dole, who actually came on our Sunday morning show and asked us, I believe the question was, do I start Foreman or Hilliard? And we obviously gave the wrong advice. Look, we said it, though. We don't totally know. The advice was go Foreman because you had to figure that he was going to get more carries, and he did. Hilliard just broke the long one and scored.
Yep.
I mean, there was no way to predict that, but I still think it's Foreman. You're going to see when we go through the stat line here that Foreman saw 19 carries, Hilliard saw 12. So you go with the volume.
How many targets did Hilliard get? Because that was what he had last week, 10 targets, I believe. That's why I liked Hilliard.
Blah, blah, blah. Need to pull up the stat line. I don't think they were targeted very often. So Foreman saw 1, Hilliard saw 2.
Okay.
So they weren't used, like the ball wasn't like, they only threw the ball 21 times and it was spread around to everybody. Nobody caught the ball more than twice. So
yeah, Tannehill has 11 completions, so that's definitely not a good thing.
I mean, thankfully they were able to run the ball today, or this would have been an even worse score than it was. But yeah, Bob, I think just unfortunately, it just didn't fall in your favor, man. Like,
yeah,
the wrong guy scored. That's all you can say. That's pretty much all it was.
Yep.
So,
definitely. All right, let's go ahead and just mention the stats here. Obviously, Tannehill 11 for 21, 93, a touch and a pick. Not great. Hilliard, we just mentioned, had 131 and a touchdown. Foreman had 19 carries for 109. Nick Westbrook-Akini had 2 for 25 and a touchdown. He was their number 1 receiver, I believe, on the day. Kind of crazy. Mac Jones has a very efficient Patriot-esque type quarterback day with 23 for 32, 310, and 2 touchdowns. Stevenson and Harrison basically split carries there, 9 for 46 for Stevenson, 11 for 40 and a touch for Harris. And the star of the day was Kendrick Bourne, 5 for 61 and 2 touchdowns. Other than those 2 running backs, I mean, there's not much to talk about here, right? I mean, it's pretty much typical Patriot stuff.
Yeah, not really. I mean, split backfields for both of these teams. Bob brought up this McNichols a factor after he comes back from the concussion. Possibly, honestly, like you mentioned how Hilliard could get used in the passing game. I think that could be where McNichols actually makes the biggest impact. So that makes me want to lean more toward the Foreman side going forward anyway. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough to really guess correctly every single week with these teams, because that's just the situation we're in with these guys. And there's a lot of teams like this right now. So,
Yep. All right, let's move to the next game here. Dolphins and Panthers. Dolphins take this game 33-10. Cam Newton plays terribly, 5 for 21, 92 yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks. Did run one in. Christian McCaffrey went 10 for 35 and had 1 target, but then he got hurt. DJ Moore had a big game, 4 for 103, but I think 64 of it came on 1 play. So you're not really
very early too. Yep.
Yeah. On the Dolphins side of things, Tua 27 for 31, 230 and a touchdown, very efficient. Gaskins 6 for 49, but he did have 2 touchdowns. So that's definitely a plus there. Jalen Waddle really proving me wrong. I was not high on Waddle coming into the season, but 9 for 137 and a touchdown. He's definitely proved me wrong. He's been one of the better, more consistent receivers of late. But the story here really is on the Panthers side of things. You got bad Cam showing up. You got CMC hurt again. What do you look for in this Panthers offense going forward here?
We need Cam to not throw the ball to the other team as much. I mean, 5 for 21. I mean, look, this is what unfortunately you get with Cam Newton. I mean, I was really high on Cam Newton this week after, last week, looking pretty good. And you think the floor is normally pretty high with him because of the rushing, and he gets in the end zone, and he did, but I mean, he just ruined it and then some with his passing or lack thereof. He does this, like, he tries to like force the ball down the field. He doesn't use his best weapons in Christian McCaffrey early. Like, I mean, McCaffrey was like wide open a bunch of times, and we wouldn't dump it off to him. He wants to be the hero, and he ends up, ruining it for his team. And then he got pulled, and PJ Walker pulled PJ Walker and sucked. Although he had a better passer rating than Cam Newton. Not saying much.
I think I had a better passer rating than Cam Newton today. I didn't even leave my couch.
Yeah, Jalen Waddle, though, I don't remember where I had him ranked. I feel like the big MO for him, though, was like, look, we knew the talent was there, but we weren't sure what the quarterback situation really was. We weren't really sure how Tua was going to perform.
Yeah.
And then you also had to remember that, then it was a crowded receiving corps with Fuller and Parker, and Gesicki was still there, and you knew Gaskin, at least last year, was heavily involved in the passing game, but Parker's hurt. Fuller, we don't know. And Gaskin isn't getting used in the passing game as much as last year. So Waddle's just turned into this beast. And I mean, there were some people saying that Waddle was the better pro prospect than Devonta Smith.
Yeah. And I think I wrote in one of my articles this week, because I had Waddle as one of my values in DFS, but in the last 4 games, and now I think 5 games, with Tua, if Tua starts and finishes the game, Waddle has at least 10 targets in all of those games. So that connection is pretty strong there with Waddle and Tua.
Yeah, definitely good stuff there, man.
All right, let's move to this next barn burner of a game. The Giants beat the Eagles 13-7. Jalen Hurts finally really, I mean, he was terrible today. There's no other way to say it.
He pulled Cam Newton.
Yeah, 14 for 31, 129, no touchdowns, 3 picks. Did have 8 for 77 on the ground. Boston Scott, 15 for 64 in the touch. Got that touchdown and stole everybody's Miles Sanders, frustrations once again. On the other side, Daniel Jones, 19 for 30, 202 in a touchdown. Barkley, 13 for 40 on the ground, 4 for 13 through the air. Galladay, 3 for 50, so not many great numbers there that you're really excited about in fantasy. And really, what I want to talk about is Jalen Hurts. I mean, Ryan McDowell's put out this thing every week now where he's showing how many quarterback ones they've had each week, and Jalen Hurts has been at the top of that list with 10 quarterback 1 finishes this year. I think Brady and Cousins have 7 each. But he was terrible today against a defense that was a decent defense. But, yeah, that was just brutal.
He should have been able to do much more. I'm not really sure what happened here. And look, my notes went to the running game, and that's kind of where I can, analyze Jalen Hurts, right, is he threw the ball 31 times, which was weird. Like, this game wasn't even close to a blowout.
Nope.
It was a 3-0 game at halftime. Then the Giants scored a touchdown in the third, but still 10-0. Like, you stick with your game plan.
Yep.
And they were forcing the ball downfield. Their only drives that were actually doing anything were the ones where they were just run. And then, of course, Hurts kept throwing interceptions in the red zone. But, you know, the last few games, they ran the ball, I think, upwards of 50 times.
50 times each, yeah.
Today was 33. And, of course, you know, they didn't have the ball as much. But, you know, I'm looking at the last few games for Jalen Hurts as far as passing attempts, right? 24, 23, 17, 14. I'm pretty sure all of those were wins. So, outside of maybe the Chargers game. So, I mean, what does that tell you? Like, they need to utilize this run attack. And I don't know if it's because they didn't have Jordan Howard, but they decided that they weren't going to run the ball with Miles Sanders either. And I know he got a little banged up, so maybe that has something to do with it. But, I mean, he still played in the entire game, I believe. But he only saw 9 carries. I mean, he was very effective every time he touched the ball. 7.1 yards per carry average. Like, that's really, really good. So,
a week after he had 16 carries, a season high, they decided, oh wait, let's use somebody else now.
This is like what happens with Frank Reich and Jonathan Taylor. It's like, oh, I forget what actually works, and we're going to go do the opposite. Like, I don't know. I don't get it.
All right, enough on that fantasy nightmare of a game there. Let's move to the Falcons and the Jags. Falcons take this one 21-14. Matt Ryan, 19 for 29, 190, a touchdown and a pick. Cordero Patterson, 16 for 108, 2 for 27. He also had 2 touchdowns on the ground. Russell Gage makes an appearance here with 6 for 62 and a touchdown. On the other side of things, Trevor Lawrence has 228 passing yards, a touchdown and a pick. James Robinson, 17 for 86, 3 for 29 through the air. And Marvin Jones, 4 for 43. I had a great one-handed catch, but that was basically the highlight for that team on that side of the ball. But really, I heard this stat on Red Zone when I was watching that the Falcons hadn't scored a touchdown in 27 straight drives. And the quarter passing comes back, and all of a sudden they're scoring like crazy all of a sudden, it seems.
I mean, it's also the Jags, so that has a little bit to do with it. But, yeah, it was, good to see Patterson get back in here and just be what we've seen all year long from him. He's just been effective every time he touches the ball. He's just running with a purpose. You want to see him get more involved in the passing game, but, hey, you'll take 16 carries for 108 and 2 anytime.
Agreed. What about your thoughts on Mr. Kyle Pitts, who struggled the last couple of games now?
You know, on Thursday's show, Fantasy 6 Pack Hour, I did it with Davis, or we did it on Wednesday actually, but Davis Payne, we did trade targets, we did fantasy like football schedule analysis, for playoff time and stuff like that, and when we got to tight end, we said somebody who you could potentially look at selling is Kyle Pitts, because I think the name carries for him still.
Yep.
I think that's slowly fading away, but I think people are still looking at Kyle Pitts, and I'm guilty of it too. I rank him high every single week, and I kind of look at it and I'm like, I don't know why I keep ranking him high every week. He's not performing, but then you look at the guys you're ranking him over, and you're like, well, yeah, I guess, sure, why not? I mean, it's a crapshoot, but like he's just, except for those 2 games in the middle of the year at this point.
Yep.
He's been
it's that upside that you rank. Yeah,
it's the volume he gets, but he's not. The targets are there, but it's just he's just not turning it into anything, unfortunately. So,
agreed. Anything else in this game you wanted to touch on?
No.
Let me ask you this really quick with Trevor Lawrence and the way he's played so far this year. If we were to redo the rookie drafts this past year, is Trevor Lawrence still the number 1 overall quarterback taken in rookie drafts, you think?
I think so. I mean, I know a lot of people are going to look at Mac Jones and say, he's been the better quarterback. He's in a much different system, much different team. The Patriots are actually good. Maybe not like a juggernaut offense, but he can play safer, right?
Yep.
And he's got a coach who actually knows what he's doing. I don't think anybody thinks Urban Meyer actually knows what he's doing. And so, he's dealing with not a lot to work with. That offensive line is atrocious. The receiving core is maybe Marvin Jones, and Chenault has disappeared. No idea what's going on with him. Look, what you probably would have said, we probably would have been talking similar stuff about like Peyton Manning years ago after his rookie year, and a lot of really good quarterbacks they struggle that rookie season.
Yep. I think Herbert kind of spoils a little bit last year with his rookie season, the way he played.
Again, though, he was also on a good team. I mean, you got to forget, everybody just doesn't, think about how good of a situation he walked into.
Yep.
You give somebody like that, a fairly decent offensive line. You give him Mike Williams, you give him Keenan Allen, you give him Austin Eckler. Okay.
The Hunter Henry and the tight end last year.
Right?
A pretty good
Trevor
team.
Lawrence has nothing. He doesn't even have one of those guys.
Yep.
So it's really hard to do comparisons. Jacksonville just really has to draft really heavily on offense this next year to get guys around him, or make trades, do something, get him a receiver, get him some offensive line help for sure.
Yep.
And then build a defense so that not everything is on his shoulders while he's still learning the NFL game. I mean, that's really
maybe get a coach to do that. That's what he's doing.
Yeah, not one that goes, oh man, I really underestimated this NFL thing.
Exactly. All right, the last early game that we have here, Jets beat the Titans 21-14. Zach Wilson has a terrible game, 14 for 24, 145, no touchdowns and a pick. Tevin Coleman leads the ground game here with 16 for 67. Ty Johnson is at 6 for 42 on the ground, because I thought he had a couple. Yeah, I thought he was going to be the passing target, but he really wasn't. They didn't really throw the ball.
One target.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Yep.
Elijah Moore, 4 for 46. On the other side, Tyrod Taylor, 7 for 26, 158, 2 touchdowns and a pick. David Johnson, 10 for 39, basically a David Johnson kind of line. And then Cooks does save his day there with the touchdown, but only had 3 for 45. Mm-hmm. Takeaways here without Michael Carter, the return of Wilson. What you got for the Jet side of things? Anything at all?
It's kind of the worst nightmare that we could have thought, because everybody's been talking about how good Elijah Moore has been with backup quarterbacks, right? And then backups of backups quarterbacks, right? Like it's been a bunch of nobodies back there. And Elijah Moore popped, and you were thinking, okay, Wilson gets to come back. Yes, I get it. It's his first game back after injury, but he does get the Texans. So this is look, and the Texans off defense, by the way, has done very, very well the last few weeks. So they're not a total, cakewalk team, but they are a defense that I think most teams, more weeks than not, will do pretty well against. Maybe you didn't expect, 40 points from the Jets, but I was hoping to see a little bit more out of Elijah Moore. Like he did get 8 targets. It's just Wilson's bad. Like he's not accurate. He makes really bonehead plays. Like I think it was the interception.
He's flipped it out.
He just flipped it, and the running back thought he was going to take off and run. So the running back turned around and started blocking, and then Wilson threw it at his back, and the defender tip drill got it and
off his back.
It's just kind of crazy. Like I don't really. Wilson seems like one of those quarterbacks that needed a year to sit and watch. Sit and watch Joe Flacco, right? Like, I mean, Joe Flacco isn't great by any means, but he's a professional quarterback and he's been around for a while. So learn from somebody like him, learn to slow it down and just get the speed of the game. But he doesn't look ready at all. I mean, you're talking about redoing the draft. I don't think Zach Wilson goes where he did. I don't think Trey Lance goes where he did either. I think Mac Jones jumps over those guys.
Definitely.
And Lawrence goes still number 1.
Yep. And as much as I didn't want to have Mac Jones right now as a 49er fan, I wish I had Mac Jones. I know.
Absolutely.
Kind of little early to say that because we haven't seen much of Trey Lance yet. But the way Mac Jones has been playing, I think, man, I just don't think.
I mean, and you've seen a few. You've seen a little bit of Trey Lance. Like he's just not really. He's just not
He's not ready either.
He's not ready either. I gotta plug in my laptop. What the hell's going on?
Getting ready to lose your battery?
Yeah. Give me 1 second.
All right.
Oh, what happened here? I think I unplugged the wrong one. All right. Is that it? Yep. Yeah, we're good. All right. Sorry about that.
Oh, good to go.
Technical difficulties, or almost. All right, man. Late afternoon games. Let's finish things up here. Chargers and Broncos, and this one was a bit of a shocker. I didn't expect. I think a lot of people expected the Chargers to walk into Denver and take this one fairly easily, because the Broncos have been, struggling pretty bad here. Herbert, 24 for 44, 303, 2 touchdowns and 2 picks. Eckler, 12 for 31 yards on the ground, 6 for 68 receiving and caught a touchdown. Allen, 7 for 85. Sorry, Mike Williams, 4 for 39. So Mike Williams
goes back to being Mike Williams.
Yeah, pretty much. And then on the other side of the ball, Teddy Bridgewater, 11 for 18. Did get banged up for a little while. Missed probably the whole second quarter, I feel like, just about. But 129 of the touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Melvin Gordon, 17 for 83. Javonte Williams, 14 for 54 and a touchdown, caught 3 for 57. So a good game from him. I mean, look, it's the same old story with Denver, split backfield. Guys, that's not changing at this point, right? I mean,
yeah, all the Javonte Williams fans had a little bit of hope because Melvin Gordon got hurt in the first
I know, like right away too, and then he came right back in. And again, same typical story as we just kind of said. Mike Williams fading away. Unfortunately, he got. You weren't here last week, but I mentioned how the very first drive of last game, he was targeted 4 times, caught 4 for 40 yards, then didn't see a single target until that bomb on busted coverage. So everybody's looking at the final line, be like, "See, Mike Williams is back." Like, no. Go watch the tape. Go see the game log. It wasn't a good game from him, honestly. The thing to kind of look at here is like, look, Herbert is really not playing good NFL quarterback football right now. He's very erratic. He's been inconsistent. Any worries here with him going forward?
I think, if I'm a Chargers fan, a little bit. If I'm a fantasy football player right now, I don't care. I mean, this is one of the situations where quarterback and our NFL and fantasy are totally different. I think if you watch Herbert play, the eye test says he's not playing very well. Then you look at what he's doing as fantasy points. He's still getting his fantasy points. I think he's still going to be fine in fantasy. And they're not going to be benching him anytime soon. He's their future. He, had an awesome rookie season last year. He's been good at times this year, so you're not too worried about him, getting benched or anything. I just think he has to work his way through it. Second-year player, second-year quarterback, sometimes they struggle. Teams start to scheme for them, figure out their tendencies. So I do think Herbert will be fine in the long run. And as far as fantasy goes, I think he'll be fine as well.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking before the show, and I was looking up the numbers, and I use fantasy data a lot to do some research. Go and check them out. They have great stat databases here and search tools. If you go back like the last 4 or 5 games played for everybody, he's like the number 1 quarterback. Even though he's had some kind of dud weeks, that just kind of shows like how inconsistent quarterback play has been this year. I mean, we've seen Tom Brady be way up here, and now he's kind of here, right? We've seen Aaron Rodgers up and down. We've seen Mahomes kind of all over the place.
Kyler Murray.
Everybody's kind of all over the place right now. So it's tough. You just got to roll out your guys and just hope for the best at this point. I mean, good luck figuring it out every week. I do have a quick question here by Truman. Up by 40 against the number 1 dude in the league. He's got Russ and Terry McLaurin left. Do I take the W? Kind of think you do, unless Russ actually shows that he can play football again right now.
Yeah,
like, he's been real bad. If he puts up another like 10 to 15, I mean, you need a lot from Terry to make that up. So I don't think it's happening. So.
I agree.
You're in pretty good shape. I mean,
I think you're good.
Yeah, it's going to be close, but I think you're in good shape. Next game here, Rams and Packers, and this was a fun one to watch. Packers take it 36-28. Stafford 21 for 38, 302, 3 touchdowns and a pick. Henderson 16 for 55, and I believe he had a receiving touchdown too.
You might be right.
Yeah, I'm trying to look that up here real quick while I'm talking here. Cup kind of got involved late more than anything, but finished for 7 for 96. So he's kind of salvaged a PPR day. Van Jefferson, I kept wanting to say Jefferson. That's why I hesitated. 3 for 93 and a touchdown, caught a real long one there, and then OBJ 5 for 81 and caught a long touchdown as well. And yeah, Henderson caught 4 for 18 and got in the end zone with one of them. Took a hit too, man. Got smashed. On the Packers side of the ball, Rodgers 28 for 45, not super efficient. Finished 307 with 2 touchdowns. A.J. Dillon, even with Aaron Jones active, took the bulk of the carries there and kind of expected that, honestly. 20 for 69, 5 for 21 in the air, and a touchdown for Dillon. Aaron Jones only finished with 10 for 23, so not very good for Aaron Jones. Devontae Adams 8 for 104, and then Cobb 9 for 94 and 4 for 94 and a touchdown. So a very good day for him as well. I mean, where to start here? So, there's a lot to unpack here. So, starting with the Rams, I mean, they've obviously, they've struggled here pretty mightily the last few games. I believe they've lost 3 in a row now.
3 in a row,
the
yep.
Titans, the 49ers, and the Packers. I mean, you can kind of say, okay, the Titans are doing pretty well. The Packers, fine. I mean, to lose to the 49ers and the way they lost to the 49ers, no offense, man, but they got blasted by the 49ers. I know they're banged up all over the place, especially on offense. I'm thinking of the Titans. I know they lost Woods, and there's now reports out that Stafford might not be super healthy either. I mean, what do we think now with the Rams, who, Kupp's still kind of getting his. Stafford's been struggling here. Henderson's, before this game, was kind of struggling. I mean, what do we think with the Rams going forward? Are they gonna get it right?
I think the Rams' issue right now, and they even today a little bit, they tried a little bit more to run the ball. But early in the season, they were running the ball a bunch with Henderson. He was getting monster workloads. And I think the Rams have kind of gotten away from that, kind of like they did when they had Todd Gurley in this, the twilight of his little career with the Rams. They stopped running the ball and they became too pass happy. And that's what I kind of see right now is they think that, Stafford throwing the ball 40 times a game is the way to win. And I don't think that. I think Henderson needs to get more of a workload. They needed to play a little bit more ball control and play that way instead of just trying to air the ball out constantly and win that way. So I think from an NFL standpoint, I think they need to just run the ball. And from a fantasy standpoint, they're still doing pretty good. OBJ showed up today. He got a touchdown. One long play really is what.
54. I mean, same thing for Van, 79-yard play. But hey, Odell saw 10 targets, so there's something there. I liked the move for him as a slight upgrade coming from the Browns. How can you not?
Yeah.
But I'm still not a huge OBJ believer. I still think he's kind of a virus for whatever. He's going to start chirping at some point if they're not winning games, and he's not, going off. So it's, I guess maybe if they start winning, he'll shut his mouth, but we'll see. Just wanted to say thanks, Hollywood, man. We appreciate you guys. We appreciate you listening.
Checking us out.
Last game here on the slate, Vikings, 49ers, and 49ers take it again. I think, this is 4 in a row for them, right?
4 in a row, yep. We're actually back in the playoff race.
Looking good, man. 34-26 over the Vikings. Cousins went 20 for 32, 238, 2 touchdowns, both the Thielen and a pick. Cook went 10 for 39, caught 6 for 64, and went out with a shoulder injury. They're saying dislocated shoulder, but he's going to get more imaging done tomorrow, and so they'll know the extent of any damage done. So in the meantime, Madison 7 for 21 and the touchdown. Didn't really look that good coming into the game in his place, but 49ers are playing pretty tough. Justin Jefferson 4 for 83. And Adam Thielen, 5 for 62 in those 2 touchdowns. On the 49ers side of the ball, Jimmy G, 17 for 26, 230 and a touchdown and a pick. We had Elijah Mitchell, 27, 133 on the ground and a touchdown. Looked real good. And his backup running back, Deebo Samuel, 6 for 66 on the ground and 2 touchdowns. One reception for 12 yards. The unfortunate thing there is Deebo has apparently injured his groin. He was seen like very distraught on the sideline. So that makes me feel like we're going to get some bad news here, unfortunately.
I hope not.
I think. I'm really hoping not too, man. That's my Scott Fish team, man. That's the only one that I have any hopes in left anymore, it feels like.
The latest news I heard is that he himself didn't think it was too bad. So, I mean, players always say that, though. So,
yeah, we'll see. Hopefully it's not. And then Ayuk, 3 for 91. I mean, is Ayuk... So I got 2 questions for you. Is Ayuk like a legit fantasy starter now? Is he like at least wide receiver 3 territory for you?
I think even with Deebo playing, I think yes, he is. I mean, it's an offense that's tough because they run the ball so much, but they've actually worked him into the offense. They actually had him on a reverse today. You know, they ran Deebo one way and ran him the other way, and he got a reverse. I saw that. So they are putting him in the offense now, and I do think he's got enough talent to be viable. But chances are you probably have somebody better to start in this place. You only want to start him if you're in a tight pinch. I'd put it wide receiver 4 territory. You know, flex option when you got the matchup right. But I think he's a starter when you need him, but I wouldn't put him in every week.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, he is looking good, but yeah, he's going to be inconsistent, especially because the lack of volume in that passing game.
Yep.
Question about Deebo. Say he's healthy. I kind of liked them getting him involved in the running game when it was like kind of mixed in, but he was still being a receiver. Yeah. Now it's like they're just not even using him in the receiving game, which is bizarre. I mean, this dude was lighting up earlier on. I mean, over 100 yards, easy a game for him, it felt like. Yep. And 1 catch for 12 yards?
Yeah, that was a little crazy. Now, last week I understood it because last week, you know, Elijah Mitchell was out. Jeff Wilson
and the run game was good. Bad. yeah.
So,
but this week though,
Mitchell was a beast. I mean,
he was killing it. Yeah, there was no need to do that with Deebo. And I mean, look, it works. You know, he got the 2 touchdowns. Like, fine, do the little like in the red zone type of thing. But I don't know, to throw Deebo 4 targets and like get 1 for 12. Like, it just something seems weird here, and I'm kind of hoping they correct it. I think he helps this offense more when the run is just an extra thing, not the thing that he does.
Agreed.
You know, Deebo hasn't been the healthiest guy out there, and so to get him running with that much contact, that's gonna he needs to get out open in the field. That's what he's good at.
Yep.
So it's very bizarre to me, but you're a 49ers fan, so I wanted to get your 2 cents on that.
Yeah, and for those deep dynasty guys out there, Jawan Jennings is this guy to keep an eye on here. He actually had a pretty good game. Could have had a touchdown. His foot was just barely out of bounds.
He actually did catch a touchdown. He almost had 2.
Oh, you're right. You're right. He caught 1, almost had 2. So he's a 6th-round rookie pick from a couple years ago. He's been sort of injured on the practice squad a lot, but we saw him make some pretty good plays today. So if you're in deep dynasty leagues, someone to kind of look at.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, man, that is it. I think we're looking at a 13-2. Is it 13-3 or 13-6?
I lost my
13-3. We got 13-3. Baltimore's up. I think Mark Andrews caught a touchdown for the Ravens pretty early on in the second half here. So Marquise Brown has 6 catches for 38. So, I mean, not a ton of offensive fantasy production here all around. Lamar's trying to salvage a day, but threw those 3 early picks. So he's got a lot of
long way
catching up to do, man. But anyway, that is it for the show. Good luck, everybody, and hopefully you did well this week, and you continue
next
on
week.
in your Monday night and the rest of this game if you need it. See y'all later.
See you.